Godzilla fans have very high expectations and demands for King Ghidorah. And he's just as beloved as Godzilla himself. You literally have two kings squaring off against each other.
That's the Super Bowl to a Godzilla fan.
Any fan needs to be able to see it and say that's King Ghidorah. But at the same time, you want that modern, realistic interpretation of that.
Whether it was visual design of the creature or his performance, his sound, we had to be willing to push the boundaries a little bit.
Ghidorah, the one who's many. He's not part of our natural order, and he's not meant to be here.
A false king.
There are certain traits, certain strands of DNA that have persisted in every incarnation of the character from his first introduction back in the 60s. He's golden, 3 heads, very strange bat-like wings, and a very distinct cackle. King Ghidorah very clearly has his origins in the legendary Greek Hydra, but the way that he looks is based more on Eastern mythology. If you really look at his head, his facial features, his horns, even his scales, and just the overall flow of his body, it's very much an Eastern dragon, which is distinct from Western style.
Ghidorah, for me, was the scariest one of all of them because each head has a character and a different personality and a different roar.
It was important to me that King Ghidorah display a certain amount of intelligence and ferocity and really give him a personality. So we took 3 very talented performance capture artists and essentially tied them together so that each head would have its own individual reactions during a confrontation. Motion capture is a great way to record the performance of an actor, whether it's their facial expressions or their body language or a combination of the two, and apply it to a digital character. In a lot of ways, it was like we were going back to the techniques they used from the 50s to the 70s. You're still relying on the performances of human actors to bring these 350-foot-tall creatures to life. So it was sort of the modern way of doing a man in a rubber suit.
There's a few little moments in the movie where you get to see the 3 of his personalities interact. And for me, those are the moments where I can emotionally connect to him.
The center head is the very serious alpha who really calls the shots. And then the head on the right was always a bit more aggressive, tenacious, the one sort of itching to get into the fight. The head on the left, we saw as a very sort of curious, almost inquisitive head, who is a little bit more playful. So in Antarctica, for example, when he first rises up out of the ice, there's a moment when he spots human soldiers firing guns at him. Now, he's been asleep for millions of years, so theoretically, he's never seen this before. So instead of just creating a moment where he just steps on them or blasts them, wanted to just have the briefest moment where he sort of bends down out of curiosity and sort of just sniffs them out before ultimately deciding, okay, these guys suck, let me just get them out of the way, and he just completely fries them.
Oh, shit.
But even then, one of my favorite moments actually is when he bends down and sort of just licks the corpses of the soldiers that were there.
And then the alpha head in the middle yells at him and nudges him, tells him to stop.
The center head is always the one that's trying to get the other heads back on track. It's a bit like the Three Stooges.
What about Mo, Larry, and Curly over here?
But it really did help the visual effects artists, the creature animators, to give it just a little bit of an extra spark. With King Ghidorah, we went back and listened to all the original cries and roars and screeches from the classic Toho movies and try to come up with something that was familiar and tip the hat to those cries, but also was something fresh and original. And so we went to an animal wrangler and recorded the sounds of snakes hissing, a rattlesnake. So it was a lot of fun to try to create something that was unique and modern, but also harken back to the old school movies to satisfy the fans. From the first time we see him in the movie, I wanted to make sure that the audience knew that we were dealing with something very different than what Godzilla had faced in the previous film.